Art is something that is perennially around us. Some people may deny having to do with the arts, but it's indisputable that life presents us with many forms of and opportunities for communion with the arts. A bank manager choosing what tie to wear together with his shirt and shoes. A student marveling at the intricate designs of medieval cathedral during his field trip. And a market vendor cheering for her bet in a dance competition on a noontime TV program all manifest concern for values that are undeniably, despite artistic. This presentation endeavors to take art and break it into smaller parts, like a scientist who takes a splice or a sample and places it under a microscope. What is art? Art is a highly diverse range of human activities engaged in creating visual, auditory, or performed artifacts, artworks that express the author's imaginative or technical skill and are intended to be appreciated for their beauty or emotional power. The oldest documented forms of art are visual arts, which include images or objects in fields like painting, sculpture, printmaking, photography, and other visual media. Architecture is often included as one of the visual arts. However, like the decorative arts, it involves the creation of objects where the practical considerations of use are essential, in a way that they usually are not in another visual art like a painting. Art may be characterized in terms of mimesis, expression, communication of emotion, or other qualities. Though the definition of what constitutes art is disputed and has changed over time. General descriptions center on the idea of imaginative or technical skill stemming from human agency and creation. When it comes to visually identifying a work of art, there is no single set of values or aesthetic traits. A Baroque painting will not necessarily share much with contemporary performance piece, but they are both considered art. Despite the seemingly overflowing instances of arts around people, one still finds the need to see more and experience more, whether consciously or unconsciously. One whose exposure to music is only limited to one genre finds it lacking not to have been exposed to more. One whose idea of a cathedral is limited to the locally available ones finds enormous joy in seeing other prototypes in Europe. Plato had the sharpest foresight when he discussed the symposium that beauty, the object of any love, truly progresses. As one moves through life, one locates better, more beautiful objects of desire, according to Scott 2000. One can never be totally content with what is just before him. Human beings are drawn toward what is good and ultimately beautiful. The following are the elements of art. For visual, line. A continuous mark made on a surface or in space can be defined as the path of a moving point. Lines can be made with a variety of tools including brushes, pencils, and pens. In a sculptural work, lines can be made with a wire, steel, wood, or any other material that is used to create a narrow mark in space. The following are the different kinds of lines. Horizontal, associated with rest or calm. Vertical, associated with stability and firmness. Diagonal, convey movement and stability with progression. Crooked, convey violence, conflict, or struggle. And curve, they alludes to softness, grace, flexibility, or even sensuality. Shape and form. These two are related to each other in the sense that they define the space occupied by the object of art. Shape refers to 2 dimensions, the height and width, while form refers to 3 dimensions, height, width, and depth. Even if shapes are part of bigger picture, each can be identified by breaking the visual components apart and making distinctions based on what we know and what we have seen. Two categories can be used as a broad distinction. Geometric. These shapes find origin in mathematical propositions. Organic. Shapes that are in nature. Space. Space is the area between or within shapes or forms. It can be manipulated to create the illusion of depth in a two-dimensional work of art. Space can be positive or negative. The area within the objects of composition is a positive space. The area surrounding the primary objects of composition is negative space. Positive and negative space. Positive space is the space where a shadow is heavily cast, and negative space, on the other hand, is the space where it is lighter. Three-dimensional space can be simulated through a variety of ways, one of which is shading. Color. It is produced when artists use various pigments and dyes to create a range of different hues that the viewer's eye and brain interpret as colors. The color wheel corresponds to the first proper color hue. Since we tackled the term hue, what is hue is all about? It is subdivided into three: the primary colors, secondary colors, and the tertiary colors. Value. This refers to the brightness or darkness of color. This creates the solidity and depth, particular mood and feelings. Light colors, taken as the source of light in the composition. Dark colors, the lack or even absence of light. Intensity. This is the color's brightness and dullness. Bright or warm colors, positive energy. Dull or cool colors, sedate, soothing, seriousness, or calm. Textures. Like space, texture can be either real or implied. Texture in 2D. Texture can be implied using one technique or a combination of other elements. Texture in 2D. Texture can be implied using one technique or a combination of other elements. Surface texture. The best example would be the texture of 3D. Elements of art in auditory. First, rhythm, often associated with the terms beat, meter, and tempo. Rhythm is the element of music that situates it in time. It is the pulse of the music. The beat is the basic unit of music, while tempo refers to its speed. Beats can be organized into a recognizable recurrent pattern, which is called the meter. Classical terms are used to refer the variations in tempo, some of which are largo, slowly and broadly, andante, walking pace, moderato, at moderate speed, allegro, fast, vivace, lively, accelerando, gradually speeding up, rallentado, gradually slowing down, alargando, getting slower, broadening, rubato, literally rub time. Rhythm is played freely for expressive effect. Second, dynamics. The element of music that refers to the loudness or quietness of music is dynamics. Classical terms are used to refer to the different levels pertaining to this. Pianissimo, very quiet. Piano, quiet. Mezzo piano, moderately quiet. Mezzo forte, moderately loud. Forte, loud. Fortissimo, very loud. Third, melody refers to the linear presentation of the pitch. By horizontal, it means that in musical notation, it is read in succession from the left to right. Pitch is the highness or lowness of a musical sound. Harmony. If melody is horizontal, harmony is vertical. It arises when pitches are combined to form chords. When several notes are simultaneously played, this refers to a chord. Harmony can be described in terms of its harshness. Dissonance is the harsh sounding combination, while consonance is the smooth sounding combination. Timbre. It is often likened to the color of music. It is a quality that distinguishes a voice or an instrument from another. Dependent on the technique, the timbre may give a pertain tone or characteristic to music, much like how a painter evokes different effects or impressions onto the canvas. Texture. The number of melodies, the type of layers, and their relatedness in a composition is the texture of the music. It may be monophonic, single melodic line, polyphonic, two or more melodic lines, homophonic, main melody accompanied by chords. The principles of art. Pattern. It is a very important design concept that refers to the visual arrangement of elements with a repetitive form or intelligible sequence. Balance. Balance is considered with the visual distribution or weight of the elements in a work of art. Emphasis. Emphasis is a way of using elements to stress a certain area in an artwork. Emphasis is really just another way to describe a focal point in your artwork. Contrast. Contrast is everything in art. Without it, artwork would be nothing but a blank surface. Contrast can come in many forms. First, texture contrast, a contrast between smooth and textured. Many of Vincent van Gogh's paintings are great examples of texture contrast in action. Second, color contrast. A contrast between light and dark, saturated and dull or complementary colors. Third, detail contrast. A contrast between areas of detail and more bland areas. Shape contrast. A contrast between different shapes. Interval contrast. A contrast between long and short intervals. Harmony. Harmony is a bit vague compared to some of other principles. It refers to how all the visual elements work together in a work of art. Elements that are in harmony should have some kind of logical progression or relationship. Unity refers to some kind of connection between all the visual elements in a work of art. Like harmony, this is a bit of a vague term, which is difficult to objectively use to analyze art. Variety. Variety refers to the use of different qualities or instances of the visual elements. Variety can be used to break up monotonous or repetitive areas. Movement. Your paints cannot physically move, but you can arrange the paints in a way that gives the illusion or suggestion of movement. One of the most effective techniques for creating movement in your painting is to use bold and directional brushwork. By doing this, you can suggestively push your viewer around the painting as you please. You could also suggest movement through repetition or pattern. Proportion. Proportion concerns the relationship between the sizes of different parts in an artwork. For example, the width compared to the length, the area of the sky compared to the land, or the area of foreground compared to the background. Some proportions are considered to be visually pleasing, such as the rule of thirds and the golden ratio. Scale. Scale refers to the size of an object compared to the rest of the surroundings. For example, the size of a man compared to the tree he is sitting under, the size of a mountain compared to the clouds. The scale is different to proportion, in that scale refers to the size of an entire object, whereas proportion refers to the relative size of parts of an object.